Easy English audiobook. Hansel and Gretel. Once upon a time, in a faraway forest, there lived a poor woodcutter with his two children, Hansel and Gretel, and their stepmother. The family was very poor, and they often did not have enough food to eat. The woodcutter loved his children very much, but their stepmother was very cruel. One evening, as Hansel and Gretel lay in bed, they heard their stepmother talking to their father. "Stepmother, we do not have enough food for all of us. We must take the children into the forest and leave them there. They will never find their way back. Father, I cannot do that to my children. I love them too much. Stepmother, if we do not, we will all starve. You must do as I say." Hansel and Gretel were frightened when they heard this. Gretel began to cry, but Hansel whispered to her, "Hansel, don't worry, Gretel. I have a plan." That night, while everyone was asleep, Hansel sneaked out of the house. He gathered white pebbles from the garden and filled his pockets with them. Then he went back to bed. The next morning, the stepmother woke the children early. "Stepmother, get up, children. We are going to the forest to gather wood." She gave them a small piece of bread each and led them into the forest. As they walked, Hansel dropped the white pebbles one by one, leaving a trail behind them. They went deep into the forest, and their father lit a fire. "Father, stay here, children. We will be back soon to fetch you." Hansel and Gretel sat by the fire and waited. They waited for a long time, but no one came back for them. Gretel began to cry again. "Gretel, we are lost. What will we do?" "Hansel, don't worry, Gretel. I left a trail of white pebbles. We can follow it back home." They waited until the moon rose, and the white pebbles shone in the moonlight. Hansel took Gretel's hand, and they followed the trail back home. Their father was very happy to see them, but their stepmother was angry. "Stepmother, we must take them farther into the forest next time." The next night, the stepmother again told the father to take the children into the forest. Hansel and Gretel heard this and were very worried. Hansel wanted to gather more pebbles, but the stepmother had locked the door. "Gretel, what will we do now, Hansel?" "Hansel, we will use the bread she gave us. I will leave a trail of bread crumbs." The next morning, the stepmother woke them early again and gave them a piece of bread each. She led them deep into the forest, even farther than before. As they walked, Hansel left a trail of breadcrumbs. They went deep into the forest, and their father lit a fire. "Father, stay here, children. We will be back soon to fetch you." Hansel and Gretel sat by the fire and waited. They waited for a long time, but no one came back for them. Gretel began to cry again. "Gretel, we are lost. What will we do?" "Hansel, don't worry, Gretel. I left a trail of bread crumbs. We can follow it back home." But when they looked for the bread crumbs, they were all gone. The birds had eaten them. "Hansel, oh no, the birds have eaten the crumbs. We are lost." They wandered through the forest for days, hungry and tired. They had no food and were very scared. One day, they saw a beautiful house made of gingerbread, candy, and cake. They were so hungry that they ran to the house and began to eat it. "Hansel, this roof tastes like chocolate. Gretel, and these windows taste like sugar." As they were eating, an old woman came out of the house. "Old woman, hello, children. Come inside. I have more delicious food for you." Hansel and Gretel were so hungry that they followed the old woman inside. The house was warm and smelled of fresh bread and sweets. The old woman gave them milk and cookies, and they ate until they were full. But the old woman was actually a wicked witch. She locked Hansel in a cage and made Gretel do all the housework. "Witch, I will fatten you up, Hansel, and then I will eat you." Gretel was very sad and scared, but she did as the witch said. Every day, the witch would check to see if Hansel was getting fat. Hansel was clever and held out a bone instead of his finger. The witch, who had poor eyesight, thought Hansel was still too thin. Witch, why are you not getting fat? I will eat you anyway. One day, the witch grew impatient. Witch, Gretel, heat the oven. It is time to cook your brother. Gretel knew she had to act quickly. She had an idea. Gretel, I don't know how to heat the oven. Can you show me? The witch grumbled and opened the oven door. Witch, foolish girl, this is how you do it. Quickly, Gretel pushed the witch into the oven and slammed the door shut. The witch screamed, but Gretel did not let her out. The witch was gone forever. Gretel ran to Hansel's cage and freed him. They hugged each other tightly. Hansel, you saved us, Gretel. Gretel, let's go home, Hansel. Before they left, they found the witch's treasure chest filled with gold and jewels. They filled their pockets and set off for home. They walked for days until they finally found their way back. When they arrived home, their father was overjoyed to see them. He had been very worried and missed them terribly. Their stepmother was no longer there, and they lived happily ever after with their father. They had enough gold and jewels to never be hungry again. Hansel, we are safe now, Gretel. Gretel, yes, Hansel. We will always be together.